pace is dropped early for a new round of soccer down here. And good morning. John here, Jarrett there. And the reason that we start early on Fridays is because we have Weekend Whiparound, patent pending, trademark coming. And it was pretty funny. It's like you remember that you do something and then you forget that you did it. Meaning that it's like I always set 8:45 as the time for our clock, and then I get caught doing things, and it's like, oh crap, it's 8:45, And so we've officially made it. We're here, and it is the last full-blown patent pending, trademark coming Weekend Whiparound of the year, since we are heading for Decision Day. Reminders that the 2:30 kicks in the Eastern Conference are 2:55s. They're just because it says 2:30, it's 2:55. All of them are 25 minutes late for the super hyper mega pregame shows. The 5 o'clock kicks in the Western Conference are labeled 5 o'clock. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm waiting for my first element here, 5:18. So it's 2:55 and 5:18 for your kicks for the action on your Sunday. And it's going to be a sprint. We've got other stuff to get into for opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And the part I think Jarrett, that Bart is helping me out with here is that I kind of had to find a way to bring in the QR code for Kickoff Coffee. So I basically took a picture and just jammed it into the overlay section for StreamYard. So that's your QR code, by the way. And it's actually kind of in between the two of us, so it actually does work out a little bit. That's your QR code for Kickoff.
It works. Hey, man, in any port in a storm,
Yeah, especially with me and trying to figure out overlays and tombstones and this kind of stuff with StreamYard. So that's your QR code for Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. You can follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Use the code SoccerDownHere15 for anything involving a purchase from Kickoff Coffee. You get 15% off, and then they in turn take 10%, and then they flip it into youth initiatives, which is very, very cool. Opening kickoff, I wanted to get into Leagues Cup because that was announced yesterday. July 21st through August 19th. And obviously both leagues are going to not do any kind of in-league competition. It's an official CONCACAF competition. Everybody participates. 4 regions, World Cup style tourney, group stage and knockouts. No ties. Each team gets a point. If it's tied after 90 minutes, penalty shootout gets you an additional point. Regulation win counts as 3. 77 matches, MLS stadiums throughout the U.S.
This is how the Scottish lower cup competitions deal with things, and it's always hilarious because you don't get these are hockey rules. You don't get a tie.
No tie. Liga MX versus Liga MX matches will be played at MLS venues depending on the region. Group stage buys for 2022 MLS Cup champion group stage, and then starts at the round of 32. Of the 2 Liga MX recent champions in Clausura and Apertura, the club with the most combined points accumulated across both tournaments in the 2022 calendar year skips the group stage. There's math involved. Group stage, each club gets a minimum of 2 matches in the group stage. Top 2 teams from each group advance based on points. Tiebreakers, full competition guidelines published in the coming months. MLS clubs ranked 2 to 16 based on supporter shield are seated first in each group. Liga MX clubs ranked 2 to 16 based on total points from Clausura and Apertura combined will be in the second position in each group. Opposite MLS rankings, Liga MX 15 is paired with MLS 2. The remaining 13 MLS clubs, together with 2 remaining Liga MX clubs, drawn into groups divided geographically. Knockouts, single game, round of 32, round of 16 quarters, semis, third place match, final Saturday, August 19. Both clubs qualify for CONCACAF Champions League. Leagues Cup winner skips directly to the round of 16. Third place match winner qualifies for Champions League. Both clubs Leagues Cup final qualify for Champions League. League Cup 23 champion qualifies directly to the round of 16. and it's going to be on Apple. So there you go, Jarrett. What do you think?
I think Bam's right. I think it's a cash grab, but that's fine. Like, you knew it's going to be all these cup competitions are cash grabs. UEFA didn't make the Europa Conference League just so everybody could feel good.
Mm-hmm.
They made it because there was money to be had.
Yep.
They saw potential revenue sitting out there in the Glengarry Glen Ross philosophy of their money is just sitting there waiting for you to take it.
Correct.
But you have to do it.
Yes.
And I mean, it's a cash grab, but it's going to be fun and stupid. I don't disagree with Ricky either. It's going to be fun. It's going to be stupid.
Yes.
I mean, because you're involving at this point, you're involving a bunch of teams playing against each other that probably have zero history, and some of them will. You might get Club America and Atlanta playing again, and they might kill each other.
Yes. So there you go. Ricky asking if we were in a group with, say, Nashville and Puebla, Nashville would host Puebla and us, and then we would host Puebla. I think that is accurate, Ricky. I think that is the proper interpretation of it. So, yeah, so we would get we'd get that home match, and I think it'd be pretty cool. So that's your early round of everything going on.
I wouldn't expect this to be like the final cut on all of this.
Yeah,
they're gonna make further changes to the system.
Yes.
We might look at it in 2 or 3 years, and it could be very different from what it looks like now.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to build it out how they think it's going to work. But what you think is going to happen versus what happens are rarely the same thing.
Yes.
So they'll make adjustments.
Yeah. So this is, I mean, literally, it is the proverbial work in progress when it comes to this particular tournament. But I'm excited about it because I want to see how Major League Soccer stands up to Liga MX. And as one of the guys that will watch Sábado Gigante, if I have nothing going on, I will keep track of what's going on in Liga MX. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. I want to see what the fan interest is like. I want to see how the fans travel for both the teams that are not the home market. The home market's going to show. But I want to see how in the group stage, I want to see how the visiting side for the Liga MX side shows, and I want to see how the visiting side for Major League Soccer shows. And I'm really looking forward to it. And obviously, the stuff there at the end of the rainbow involving CONCACAF Champions League, I think it's gonna add that little bit of extra spice to it. So it's going to be very, very cool. So Leagues Cup, in and out, all about Liga MX trying to stay relevant with MLS. Bam, I think that the way that I'm looking at it is, right now Liga MX is rated above Major League Soccer when it comes to league relevance. If you have your top 20 or whatever, and if you had your top 20 poll, Liga MX would be above Major League Soccer. I think that this is Major League Soccer's opportunity, Jarrett, to sit there and close the gap of competition and sit there with the World Cup coming to the three countries here, that you're going to, you want Major League Soccer to be closer to Liga MX and the AP rankings, and this is that chance to do it.
Well, MLS, a star is rising, and not just here, but globally, because now you're getting so many young players that come here, and we knew that to begin with. But to build on that, now you're in a system where you're starting to get guys who were in Europe already coming back here. Now, whether that is kind of to wind down their career or to kind of re-kickstart it, for whatever reason, you got guys coming here, and it's going to draw more attention. I think. Let's break out the chart again so we can game theory this one out.
Sure.
I think this one falls into the category of both of them are looking at this saying, if we'll just work together on this, we get a better outcome than if we just tried to destroy each other. Let's both make some money off of this. Let's both get some exposure out of it. Let's get some more games. Let's build the profile up, and everybody can benefit, as opposed to trying to, basically play spy versus spy between Liga MX and MLS.
Yeah.
I wasn't in the room, so I can't say for sure, but like my instinct is that somebody's multiples decided this is how we're going to be able to make the most money.
Yep.
Let's just do this. We've already been flirting with it for the last few years. Just go all in.
Yep. Bam is wondering why they don't play some of the matches in Liga MX Stadia if everything is going to be geared toward.
I wish they would.
Yeah.
But I wish they would. I don't know why it has to all be here.
But it might be security issues. You don't know. I mean, that might be part of it. Access with travel, especially the going back and forth. I think it's easier to navigate in the United States when it comes to charters or commercial or what have you. I think it might be a logistical issue more than anything else, especially if you're having to do things rapid fire.
And Byrne brings up a point. How seriously will, like, in terms of how serious will they take it defending? How seriously will they take it overall?
Yeah.
If you're sitting in the bottom of the table, middle bottom of the table, how seriously are some of these teams going to take this?
Yeah.
If they've also got U.S. Open Cup in their lives and they're still in a live for the playoff picture, how seriously will they take this if it means we can lose 3 games and go practice?
Yeah. And that's part of it. You know, that will be the interesting dynamic in it. Ricky's asking, where does Leagues Cup rank in the trophy standings now? Having 3 CCL spots has to make it significant. I think that definitely, but more than the dinner plate. I think it means more than the dinner plate out of the blocks. The supporter shield, the Captain America shield or whatever, the appetizer plate. It's definitely got to be more than that.
Yeah, it's more than the dinner plate. Can I give you a conditional answer? Because I don't know how teams are going to take this. In the same sense, like, let's look at Campeones Cup when Atlanta won it in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was just kind of like, it doesn't really matter. But then you had 2 teams on the field who were actively trying to kill each other. And it clearly mattered to them. Mm-hmm. So when it matters to them on the field that much, clearly it has to matter.
Yeah.
So we'll see how seriously everyone takes this, and then we can reassess.
Yeah, Ricky said they should take it more seriously. If you're at the bottom of the table, it's a faster way to get into CCL. Yeah, and that's what you saw from Sporting Kansas City in U.S. Open Cup. Sporting Kansas City threw everything they had at it.
U.S. Open Cup's your easiest path because you could end up like Orlando this year. And Orlando, the last 2 times they played the Open Cup, they haven't played away. They played 1 match away from home in the last 2 Open Cups, and that was at Memphis.
Yeah.
You get a good draw and you get a good run through, U.S. Open Cup is easier.
Yeah.
Is objectively easier. You've got USL teams to deal with, possibly USL League One teams versus Liga MX teams.
Mm-hmm. And that'll be the fun part of all of this. Okay, top of the hour. That was your opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Hang on just a second. Let me grab the QR code, and I'll throw it back up and just have it completely and totally be right there. That's your QR code, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee. Hit that QR code up, and that's a direct way to get to Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com, Kickoff Coffee CO on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase with Kickoff Coffee, and then they in turn take 10%, roll it around into your youth initiatives and youth game. Very, very cool. Keep talking about what we're seeing in the Twitch pitch with Leagues Cup. So, yeah, we'll talk about that. Greg Garza joining us at the bottom of the hour for our friends from Beyond Goals, and then 10 o'clock or 9:55. After the promo read, then we'll get into all the news of the day from yesterday, do your Yates report update, and anything going on overseas, plus what happened last night with Gimnasia and Boca Juniors, which was awful, and we'll get into that and all of the incidents that happened there last night. If you missed that, it was on Teisei, and it was disturbing last night. And the more the news came out last night of the police opening fire on TV crews and things like that, it was just out of control. So we'll get into Gimnasia and Boca Juniors as well last night. All right, so it's that time. Wish we had an open with actual music, but patent pending, trademark coming time for the weekend whip around. We will save Atlanta United and NYC for the end. Right now, Atlanta United's favored at a -104. Your draw's a +285. NYC's a +244. Because we have games that don't really have meaning for bits and pieces of the conferences, they may just get glossed over. I will leave that up to Jarrett. At 2:55, Chicago Fire, New England Revolution. Once again.
Don't care. Let's take it to Shooter and find out what he has to say.
Yeah. So you're looking at
It's earmuffs.
Yeah, New England comes in with 41 points, 10 wins. Chicago 38 points and 10 wins, and that's where we are with that. Chicago's a plus
The
one.
only thing worth mentioning here is that Gaston Jimenez got bought down out of a DP spot, so Chicago has a DP slot to go forward into next year with.
Yes.
That's Chicago didn't win the wooden spoon.
No.
They were wildly inconsistent this year.
Mm-hmm.
Had some games where, they gave up, I think 4 or 5 goals at times, where, Slanina wasn't able to keep everything out.
Yep.
And other games where it clicked for them. And they looked like a team that could compete for the bottom of the playoff picture. And it was not meant to be. New England never really recaptured what they were last year.
No.
On top of that, New England regressed hard and did that thing where they're going to sell guys. And weren't able to. Yeah. And you weren't able to. Dejan Buchanan as well.
Yeah.
You weren't able to recreate the magic that you had last year, and you probably played over your heads last year in getting to the point you got.
Yeah.
And then you take away, you were already going to regress. Then you took things away.
Mm-hmm.
No. Yeah. Bruce has got some work to do.
Yeah.
But he knows that.
Yeah. And New England did find a swap from Matt Turner with Petrovic, did not find a substitute for Adam Buxa, and that's what happened.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Thank you for pointing that out, because I should have mentioned Petrovic. He's really damn good for them this year.
Yeah. New England's a plus 215. Your draw's a plus 262. DC and Cincinnati. DC is a plus 233 at home, a home dog, plus 276. And FC Cincinnati is a plus 102. Cincinnati needs it. They're at 46 points, 11 wins. They need to better a result or match a result from Columbus and Orlando. So right now, 46 points, 11 wins. That's what's in it for Cincinnati. DC, wooden spoon bound at 27 points, and it'll be theirs. 33 matches, 7 wins, 20 losses. Bill Hamid might get his send-off for the franchise in this one. Has not played, I think, since May. And because of injuries and family concerns, he has not been around. But it looks like Bill Hamid will not be returning to DC next season at plus 231. Also at 255, Inter Miami, CF Montreal. Juice Boxers threw a blanket over the whole thing. Basically, both sides are a plus 150, and your draw is a plus 275. Inter Miami is in at 48 points. It's just positioning now because they are 2 behind New York Red Bulls. They are 2 ahead of Cincinnati and Columbus. But if there's any kind of a tiebreaker, say Miami gets 1 point, Cincinnati and Columbus both win, 49 points, first tiebreakers wins, Miami would keep the 5. So Miami could be the 5, 6, 7. They could be the 4. What do you think about this one?
I am fully on board with a Gonzalo Higuain MLS Cup run. Don't really care for Miami in general because,
and Montreal, if they win and Philadelphia draws, Montreal would be your top seed in the East because of more wins.
Montreal, the funniest outcome possible.
19
the
wins.
Funniest outcome possible. Because, I mean, look, it's not the end of the world if it happens for Philly, but Rich, I'm going to make fun of Philly if it happens, because that means they should have lost to Atlanta.
Everything goes
should have lost in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Then they got blitzed by Charlotte. I mean, blitzed.
Yeah.
And then they get Miami, who's middle of the pack, and it's just kind of, look, if Campana is doing if Campana goes on a goal scoring run in the end of the regular season into the playoffs, oh buddy, Miami's a problem out.
Yeah.
Just because they'll create something out of nothing.
Yeah.
They'll have 2 guys going who can create something out of nothing if that happens. But yeah, I'm gonna make fun of Philly for fumbling the way of the top seed in the East if it happens that way.
Yeah,
I think Miami can get this done though, but which would render it moot.
Yeah. Philly's hosting Toronto at 255. Philly's at minus 217. Your draw's a plus 390. And Toronto FC is a plus 493. The gambit did not work out the way that Bob Bradley and Bill Manning had anticipated. So we'll see what happens there. Red Bulls in Charlotte.
Everybody said it in the summer that Insigne was not going to fix everything there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he has not. Toronto right now coming into their last game of the year, 33 games played, 34 points, 9 wins, 9-17-7 right now for Toronto. Red Bulls in Charlotte. This one's got a little bit of meaning to it because, once again, if Red Bulls win and they better New York City, then you could get into some double tiebreakers here. Say Red Bull wins, NYC ties. They're both at 53, identical records. You get into goal difference, and then it gets to NYC. So NYC is looking for a win, something more than a draw. If they get a draw, and they'll still get the 3. But there's some machinations at the 3 and the 4 involving NYC and Red Bulls. If that one was to continue their way through, Charlotte is a plus 420, and the draws a plus 300. Red Bulls right now are minus 161. Charlotte, 42 points in 33 games, and they obviously could finish no higher than 45 points on the year. And I know that we talked a lot about Charlotte as well and what we've seen from them this year, Jarrett, but Charlotte and Red Bull. Charlotte could put the gum in the works if they feel compelled to.
I think they will feel compelled to. Charlotte was a really tough out for Columbus. We saw what they did to Philly. We went over this before, but to rehash it real quick, Charlotte's initial build, not good.
No.
Charlotte's moves in summer, pretty damn good.
Yes.
To stabilize that team and made a good late run in the season when I didn't think they had enough in the tank. I think they can cause problems here.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think there could be some interesting things that go down with that one. Speaking of interesting things that could go down, Orlando City Columbus Crew. Orlando City's a plus 106. Your draw's a plus 252, and Crew are a plus 241. The current situation in the East: Columbus above the playoff bar, 46 points, 10 wins. Orlando below the playoff bar, 45 points, 13 wins. I am wagering that Columbus will try to turn this into an absolute kickabout for 90 minutes and make it the most boring match that Central Florida has ever seen since insert Florida Citrus Bowl early on a Saturday morning here. That's just me.
Yep. This is somebody's got to survive.
Yes.
Kind of game. I want to see an early goal, even if it's off a mistake. Like, man, I don't know if y'all watched that first goal that Orlando gave up to Miami. Holy damn! Give me that.
Yeah.
Give me an early goal, so just sets everybody on the edge for 90 minutes. Where we're like, at that point, you're just trying to restabilize the ship. Everybody run to the left to stabilize it. Well, that's too many people. Run to the right. I just want to see that for 90 minutes. Give me stupidity for 90 minutes. Yeah. I stand by this. When your team is out of it, you vote for the most chaos and the most drunkenness.
Absolutely,
just how it works.
Yeah, that's your Eastern Conference kickoffs, all at 2:55. Western Conference kicks all at 5:18. Austin at Q2 is hosting Colorado Rapids. Austin's a minus 127. Colorado and the draw basically within the margin of error, both around plus 300. Austin right now, they're the 2. They've got it locked down. Colorado eliminated. So I'm thinking that this one is probably more of a celebration where you hear a lot of Stevie Ray Vaughan. The 2 seed for Austin in the West. Very, very cool accomplishment for them and for Josh Wolf this year.
It is. Still don't know if I trust them in the playoffs.
No, true.
They kind of feel like that team that has zero middle ground. Either they're going to get waxed in game 1 or they're going to make a run to the Western Conference final, and I don't feel like there's a lot of wiggle room there.
Yep. Also, FC Dallas, a minus 115. Your draw and Sporting Kansas City both hanging around at plus 280. Dallas, needs a point basically not to be the 4. They're at 50 points, 13 wins. If LA wins, it's a 14th win. So Dallas is looking for a result of some kind to avoid being the 4 seed and then getting into some kind of a street fight with Nashville, because if Nashville gets a result, Dallas does not. Nashville would have the same record as Dallas, and going into the day, they have the same goal difference of plus 10. Like I said, right now, going into play, Dallas has a 3-point lead, goal difference of plus 10, 13 wins. Nashville in 5th right now. If Nashville gets a win, they're at 13 wins. Dallas loses, same result. You're going all the way down to goal difference as your next tiebreaker to figure out what happens if Dallas does not get a point and loses in their game against Sporting Kansas City. Sporting Kansas City, once they got their acquisitions in the barn, stormed up the table in relative form. They're at 40 points hanging in for the last game of the season. Houston and LAG. At Houston, Houston's a plus 202. Your draw's a plus 290. The Galaxy are a plus 110. Once again, we mentioned LA. LA's at 47 points. They have 13 wins. So they win. Dallas loses. That's the 14th win. LA could be the 3 seed. But they can't nap, because if they don't get a result, then they're looking over their shoulders at Nashville, at Portland, at Minnesota. And the only one that they're not really looking at is Salt Lake to be as high as a 4 because of the number of wins. Remember, wins, number 1 tiebreaker. Don't ask me why. Them's the rules. So LAG has to get a result in Houston for that chaos from 4 through 9, basically. LAFC and Nashville. LAFC minus 159. Your draw's a plus 336. Nashville is a plus 365. We've mentioned the madness. LAFC, I want to see what their lineup looks like. Do they trot folks out for 45 minutes just to give them curtain calls and swap them at halftime? That's what I'm looking for LAFC. Nashville, once again, needs a result, something on the board to possibly get them to the 4, possibly get to the 3. When you look at LAFC and Nashville, one team's chasing something, one team's already in the barn. What do you think?
I think give me the draw. I mean, it's one of those that's just gonna.
All right, so then let's go to the next one. Minnesota, Vancouver. You want chaos? Here's your chaos. Minnesota's a minus 130 at Allianz. Your draw is basically a plus 300. Vancouver's a plus 310. Vancouver comes into the day at 43 points, 12 wins. Then if Minnesota right now, team 7, above the playoff bar, 45 points, 13 wins. Vancouver wins. They're at 46 points. Minnesota then drops out. Does Adrian Heath and Oscar Pareja, to speak English very goodly on a Friday morning, do they drift out of the playoff picture? Do both of them not make it, Orlando and Minnesota?
I desperately want Vancouver to win this game and get into
You
the playoffs.
just want Danny Sartini to run around with not 100% of his clothing on.
No. I want Vancouver and Miami in the cup.
Okay.
That's what I want.
Okay.
I want the most sickos cup you can possibly give me.
Okay.
I want the sickos committee to weigh in on this.
Yes, and I think you should. I think you should at the sickos committee and see what they feel about decision day. 2 others to go here before we talk about a match overseas at 3:00 at Wembley. And thank you, Bern, for reminding us all, as we talked about it yesterday, but we'll get into it a little bit more today with Jarrett. RSL and the Timbers at 518. RSL's a minus 116. Your draw's a plus 293. And Portland is a plus 273. Remember, RSL out of the playoff picture right now. 11's across the board through 33 matches, 44 points. Portland, 2 points above them in 6th at 46 points, 11, 9, and 13. What do you think about this one? With RSL and Portland.
Sorry, I took a bite of food.
No worries. Where'd you go this morning?
I thought you were waxing.
No, no.
I didn't go anywhere. I had
No.
Bojangles delivered.
I might have gone to Martin's or something and brought it home with you.
No, it's probably. I mean, next time I will.
Okay.
Because that is the real popular choice.
Yes.
Steak and gravy biscuit is the way to go.
Yes. Do not anger Savarese during a playoff race, basically, is how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, but this feels like a win and in for either team.
Yeah.
Do you want to bet RSL can't get an early goal and sit there and sit back?
Oh, well.
And Portland has to hunt like a penalty because Portland's got
it's that Rio Tinto. So yeah, I mean that's how tough it can get.
RSL gets an early goal here and it could get stupid. Portland gets an early goal here and you can probably turn it off.
Yeah. So make sure that you have your multiple devices charged and ready to go. Last game in the West at 5:15. And by the way, we will catch up with Nico Moreno. Thursdays with Nico is on a Friday at 2:00. So 2:00 here in the network. It will be Thursdays with Nico on Friday. Seattle hosting San Jose. Seattle's a big favorite. -161. Your draws a +334. San Jose is a +374. Seattle not making it into the postseason at 40 points. San Jose not making it into the postseason at 34 points. I think this is the first time in MLS history that both of your conference champions from the year before did not make the playoffs.
Yeah, and this one's just going to be kind of we're going to walk through, make sure nobody gets hurt, maybe try and get a win to end the season on a high note, but then people go back to practice. And I saw this bantered about because Doug mentioned it yesterday, and Doug was right. I mean, yeah, they'll practice after this. The teams don't make the playoffs; they'll keep practicing up to MLS Cup because they can.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where they can. If you've got you've got a manager and players who are returning next year. You can start implementing stuff for the next year if you want to. You can work on stuff. And honestly, if I'm a player that is out of contract and I don't know if my option is going to be picked up or if I'm going to be back, I'm going to use those world-class facilities as much as humanly possible until my key card stops working, until my PIN number stops working, until my retinal scan has been erased.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to use those facilities to stay in tip-top shape and to get ready for the next year because it might be with someone else, but you're going to use those facilities if you're out of contract and stay sharp. And if you are going to be a part of the project going forward, then you're going to use that time in a more productive, because I think we overstated for years the importance of the extra practices in bowl season for college football.
Right.
But this kind of is what that feels like, except it can be very beneficial because you might bring. Some of these teams are going to bring a lot of people back. Some of them might only bring a couple people back, but it's a chance to make adjustments if you want to build chemistry, to work together, to introduce new concepts if you want to, that sort of thing. So yeah, they'll be right back at it next week. And pro athletes might take some time off to travel, but they still work hard. They still work a lot. I know I've known some who didn't even make it to MLS. They're still working, 4 or 5 days a week if they're not playing, even in the off season. You're staying sharp. You have to keep pushing because if you don't, someone else will. So we'll see. We'll see what comes out of all of it into early next season. We'll have a lot to digest after this weekend, and Monday we can just kind of see how the dust settles.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I wanted to talk to Greg Garza about coming up at the bottom of the hour. Is, continuing to use your key card and making sure your retinal scan works, even if a season's over, because it's how you make the impression on your current boss and how those recommendations could work their way to a future boss. It's like, yeah, season was over, dude didn't show up. That's not going to do you any good if you're looking if you're looking to stay with your current employer, but B, if also there's an individual that might be interested in you, and they're going to ask, hey, what kind of a guy was he? How did he respond? How did he do A, B, C, D, and E? And if you sit there and go, yeah, the season was over and he never showed up, and it wasn't all that. And then you have, he was a great teammate, great player, showed up, was always there to help out, those kinds of things. And so even if the season's over, it's not over. And you have stuff like that that's definitely a part of it. Byrne mentioned a small game today that's coming at 3:00, and it is on Big FOX. Their coverage starts at 2:30 Eastern. And it is Rob Alexi, Carly Lloyd in studio. JP Delacamera, Ali Wagner, and Jackie Oatley will be on site to be there for your sidelines. It's the Lionesses and the women's national team. When it comes to this match today, Jarrett, A, are you watching? And B, what are you anticipating?
So I have a phone call at 3, so I'm going to be kind of like in and out of it. I might have it like up quietly on the side.
Right.
Because I have to wrap up things because I have to go do high school football tonight.
Yes, I can relate.
I know. Where are you tonight?
We are at North Cobb and Walton.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yep. So that one's in Raider Valley.
At Walton or at North Cobb?
It's at
Raider Valley. Please,
please
don't fall through the decrepit floors of their press box.
No, and stay away from the power lines in the north end zone.
Yes, that too.
Yeah.
But as far as this one, I'll be keeping an eye on it,
Mm-hmm.
just to see, because I think I saw Mallory Pugh may not be playing. So Trinity Rodman time?
And no Katerina Macario. So Sophia Smith will be carrying a lot of the she'll be the point of the spear. Alex Morgan did not make the trip with a knee injury. Mallory Pugh withdrew to a family commitment. So you're looking at those two not being a part. And there is going to be a moment of solidarity. We don't know what and how. It looks like at some part you will have teal armbands in solidarity with sexual violence survivors from both teams. But, yeah, I mean, right now you're looking at, and this is juice boxes on this one. England is a slight favorite at a plus 135. And your draws a plus 216. The U.S. is a plus 190. Burn. Mallory Pugh definitely not playing. And Burn says, I also hope he starts Trinity Rodman. So you could have Trinity Rodman, Sophia Smith as a part of your attack going up against the Lionesses in this one. And general admission tickets for the 90,000 seater at Wembley sold out within 15 minutes, faster than any women's soccer match in history outside of a major international tournament. And coming into this match, the current world champ, European champ, are a combined 40-0-5. 40-0-5 since September of 2021. So that's what you're looking at in this one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to be, it should be fun. We'll see how it goes.
Yes. So I'm looking forward to it. I will probably be listening in the car as I'm heading from one venue to the next. So that will be an interesting one as well. Let's see. So Emilio with a question about future employers. How would you answer if asked about our midfielders? Well, which ones? I want to know specifically, Emilio, which midfielders are we talking about? You could if it's Thiago Almada, you sit there and you go, goodness gracious. I'm Thiago Almada. When you think you've seen a lot or everything that you think you've seen from Thiago Almada, Jarrett, something else pops up, and you sit there and you add that, and you're like, "Yep, put that over here." I mean, it's an absolute treat to see a guy like Thiago Almada. Burn, if you start Sophia Smith at striker, Rodman and Midge Purse up top, Lavelle, Ashley Sanchez midfield. That'd be my choice. It's a friendly after all. So Burn, yeah, Burn. I like how you're thinking. Let's put it that way. I dig it. But yeah, so
we can. Yeah, let's run through that midfield real quick before I leave.
Go for it.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me pull everybody up. Make sure I ain't forgetting nobody.
Right.
1 moment, please.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's run through this midfield.
Yep.
All right, Ozzy Alonso.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, was brought in. He was exactly what you asked for to be brought in. A veteran of the league, one of the most respected players at his position that this league has ever seen. He blew his leg out, blew his knee out. It's really unfortunate that it happened because I feel like he is forgotten when we talk about it. Atlanta needs a veteran player who knows the league. You had that. You brought in probably the best one available, and he blew his knee out.
Yep.
That's unfortunate. Amar Sejdic, you're keeping long term because he's on a cheaper deal, and he has shown that he can build a really good tandem. I think you improve on that position next year, and you keep him for depth. Emerson Heineman.
That's a
I
question.
love Emerson Hyndman. Emerson Hyndman's a very expensive player, and no one has ever made a roster on the training table.
Correct.
I'll be very interested to see what his salary looks like if he is brought back, because we thought it was supposed to be not a bad injury this time around in the summer, and he has not played another game since the summer. And if he can't stay on the field, you can't keep him in a salary cap league unless
Correct.
he's going to come down in money a lot. But
Right.
Sassetu, I don't know what the future is for Mateus Sassetu either. It's been 3 years, and I think he has shown those flashes of being really solid, but in solid in possession, if unspectacular.
Right. And
probably should have had a goal this year.
Yeah, and I'm looking at FB Ref
robbed.
specifically. I'm looking at FB Ref specifically, and this is where I get a lot of my research when it comes to rankings for players. In the possession elements for Hosechu in the midfield when he's healthy, top 8% in passes attempted, top 4% in pass completion, 91%, top 2/3 in progressive passes, top 12% in progressive carries, top quarter in dribbles completed, and top half in progressive passes received. And he's also top 2/3 in clearances defensively. Not a statistic that you would anticipate for someone like Mateus Hosechu.
No, and I thought he got better as the season. I thought once he gets more confident, he gets better about moving the ball forward. I don't know if it is a confidence issue or not, but like I thought he's better when he gets aggressive.
Yeah,
and it's just getting that out of him. Marcelino Moreno, I don't know if he's here next year. I love Marcelino Moreno, but it kind of feels like there isn't a place for him right now.
Right.
He was, unless there's an injury that we don't know about,
Right.
he wasn't featuring even off the bench.
Yep.
I think if you can find a move for Marcelino Moreno, you do it, because I think he is insanely talented, and in the right system, he would flourish.
Yep.
But that doesn't seem to be here with Thiago Almada. Santi
Right.
Sosa was a breath of fresh air, played like the player you knew he was last year. Franco Ibarra still trying to figure out. He is so 9s and 1s sometimes, where he'll put on some master classes, then he'll just be a mess.
But you look at his defensive
U22
numbers,
initiative.
top 10 in pressures, top 5 in tackles, top 4 in blocks, top 5th in clearances, top 15% aerials won, and interceptions. He's in the top half of the Major League Soccer. So there you go.
Yeah. Then Thiago Almada. I mean,
yes, insane, crazy.
Dude was an artist with the ball at his feet. The end. We can pick this apart later, Emilio.
Yep, we will. All right. You can come back at 10 o'clock if you so wish.
All right, we'll see.
All right. So that's Jared Smith. So Jared Smith is out, and so since I heard the magic tone, there's in the green room, there's a magic tone that's attached to all of this stuff. So when I hear the magic tone, it means it's time for this. It is time for Greg Garza and our friends from Beyond Goals for the Friday Free Kick. How are you, my friend?
Good. How are you doing, bud?
It is a Friday where we have our rounds of chaos that we are preparing for the weekend. We have action at 3 o'clock involving the women's national team.
Okay.
We have the what we traditionally have before you or Parky come in is what we have termed is the Weekend Whiparound. Basically, where we preview all of the matches as quickly as humanly possible. And we realized that because there are so many matches that go on, we have to start 15 minutes early on Fridays just to get them all in before you or Cap show up. So literally, we started at 8:45 to get everything in before the Friday Free Kick. We have learned this over the span of the year, that we got to get stuff done early, man. That's how it's got to go.
I like it. Well, hey, you're trekking along right now.
Well, and there was a question that came up, and I want to start with this because I think that it also impacts mentors, mentees, etc. And it has to do with a combination of things. It has to do with playing on decision day when there's nothing to play for, which is currently the case, sadly, with Atlanta United. And then also, once the season is over, continuing to show up at the office and be there and continue to be a part of postseason practice, postseason elements, those kinds of things until your future is decided. Because just because the season's not over doesn't mean that your contract isn't up and that your future isn't decided. I mean, it's an interesting dynamic that you kind of have to balance here, because you're trying to be there for your current employer and possibly future employers as the season's coming to a close.
It is by far the most nerve-wracking, I think, emotions that you can feel as a player to go through that. I think in my personal opinion, more than any other sport.
Mm-hmm.
More than any other sport, because you are dealing with not only business within the United States, but you are dealing with business all over the world. And that's the truth behind all the curtains that I think a lot of people don't see from the outside. Going in that last day to where you have to leave a very good last impression, right? I'm going to say a lot of these guys already know that they're not staying, or that they're leaving, or that they're going somewhere else, or that their contract is not going to be renewed. And so what first impression are you then giving for the people who are probably watching you, in case they say, okay, this guy is ready. This guy is, this was his last game. He's still fit. He's ready to jump in wherever he needs to go next year. And then there's so many different wings to just this conversation. And you have the guys that didn't have many opportunities throughout the whole entire year, and it's now their time to kind of showcase themselves on if they are going to stay, and if they are selected to stay. This is what you're getting. It's full of emotions, because then you have a lot of the guys that are guaranteed to stay. They have to show up. I would assume they have to show up on Monday, right?
Yeah.
And they have to work a few more weeks until you get the time off. I just remember in my case, when I was here on loan the very first year, that was not the case. I was not able to set foot in training because I did not have a guaranteed contract. And you're kind of in the middle of everything. Once again, trying to leave that last impression, but so many questions up in the air because you're not even able to train or work for your employer because of not being guaranteed. And for me, that was it's full of emotions, right? You go up and down. I remember in my personal story and going through that into the end of 2017, I had made the All-Star team that year. I thought I had the season. It was my rejuvenating and revival of my career after being out of the game for so long. And you have your hands up in the air and you're asking yourself what's going on, because I had all of my stuff in storage. I was ready to move back to Mexico because I wasn't told anything after the 2017 season that I was going to stay. And so I wasn't even able to train with the team to finish that season, even though we lost against Columbus in the playoffs. And we came back. And even when we came back for preseason training, I still wasn't able to train because I did not know what my future was going to be. And so that you have a month or two of a lot of guys that are going through so many different emotions within their heart, their brain, of really not knowing what's next. And I would say that is probably the most nerve-wracking. And I think a lot of people from the outside don't realize that the business side can really take over and it can really affect your emotions. And as now a mentor and now having mentees that kind of not such as a similar process, because these are a lot of kids and it's not their job. They're not making money to put food on the table for their families. But for young pros out there, it's one thing that you kind of really have to tell them. For our young pros that we have, it's helping them understand this is it, right? This is the territory that you've set yourself in. This is the territory that you have to adapt to. You have to get used to, and that's what it's all about, right? And you're going to go through these emotions. You're going to go through these things, and it comes with its territory.
Because at the same time, even if you're talking to mentees who might be not quite of professional age, there's still that message of giving 100% because you never know who's watching and you never know when they're watching. You can't just wander into a situation and go, yeah, I'll just kind of show up and kind of look like I'm going through the motions. There's never that second chance to show somebody your value. And I think that it's also that I think that that's the message that can be construed here as well for young mentees. It's like, you never know who's watching, and you never know when that they see you show up in that extra day.
And it's almost to just give them that opportunity to understand that every training session that they have, wherever they are, is the exact same thing, right? It's funny. My mom is in town visiting now, and I had mentor sessions all day yesterday, and so many of the things that I talked about, and it just goes back to the things that probably she told me when I was a kid, right? Every day is a tryout, right? Every day is a tryout, whether it's practice, whether it's a gym workout, whether it's a fitness test, every day is a tryout. And that's the mentality you have to give to all these kids and to young pros, right? How many young pros do you see? And that comes from the basis of really Michael and I creating the program that we have, is so many rookies and so many kids that we did see come through the system and come through, having the opportunity in the world at their feet. And they become complacent, right? They think they've gotten there, and they don't understand, those responsibilities that come along with it. That understanding that every day that they have is going to be a tryout to keep your job, right? It's not any more of you still have the fun and the passion and the love and everything behind it, but at the same time, it's the business aspect of helping them understand that every day it can be your last. Any day can be your last within the world of professional sports.
This might be a generational question to ask, but as your mentees, as you have different generations, Gen Z, Gen AA, whatever it is these days, Gen Zero, is there a different interpretation of that idea of, you've got to give 100%? Do you have to explain to one generation more than the other the importance of being there 100% of the time? Or is it still that universal thought of, yeah, we get it, and each generation understands this? Is there one generation right now that still may need more convincing more than the others, or do they get it?
I would say most definitely, right? It's this new generation that everything is self-reflected, right? Everything is also self-exception, right? You're trying to be accepted in every environment that you're in. Social media plays a huge part of that. So many different things within kind of their realm plays a huge part of what they think about themselves and how they carry themselves and how down they can be and how to go through these certain emotions, where we've talked about it in the past as well, right? I think if you look back in the day when I was a kid, my head coach when I was playing on my club team probably used to grab me by the collar and pull me into place where I needed to be.
Right.
And that was perfectly normal back then, right? And in today's world, that is the last. I mean, if that's happening, you're probably going to go to jail. And it's a different generation that we live in. But I think maybe, and I think about when I was a rookie, right? I think about when I was a rookie, and Parky probably has better stories than me because he had Taylor Twellman as his veteran, right?
Yeah.
I think just myself of becoming a rookie, it was just stepping into that environment and stepping into that situation. Not saying a word and wanting to gain their respect as much as possible and putting in as much work as I could and almost built tough, right? Whereas today, this is my honest opinion, I think kids are still so very tough, but we have kind of leveled down that mental toughness of helping them understand that once they step into that environment, they have to embrace it and they have to cherish it as much as possible. And like I said, I actually wrote down a quote. It was actually from Facing Nolan. I don't know if you've seen it, the new Nolan Ryan documentary, which is really interesting.
Okay, yeah.
I loved it. I watched it on the plane. I was traveling this last week, and watched it on the plane. And there were so many things that he said about his career. And it was about him. He had pulled his hamstring and he was about to throw a no-hitter. And he was in the ninth inning, or he was in the eighth inning and pulled his hamstring and needed 3 more outs, right? And how many times did he do that over and over in his career? And I mean, he holds the records for as many no-hitters as anyone else in the history of baseball. And he said that mental, and this is what it was. He said, when you talk about pain, whether it be mental or physical, right? He said, I don't call it pain. I call it discomfort. Mm-hmm. And when you're playing at that level, you learn that you have to play within it. It comes with the territory in which you are in, right? And that really stood out to me because it's so true. There's so many adverse moments that you face, whether it's in a game or whether it's in your career, whether it's within a season or within a year, that they're going to be painful moments. They're going to be moments that you have to be made tough. And I think that was the best way to kind of describe and kind of understand what that means, coming from someone that is probably viewed upon as one of the biggest legends within baseball.
Well, because I mean, even if you look at it and how you present those ideas, I think that the idea of being in pain versus being in discomfort, it's two separate mentalities. It's two separate mindsets. Pain, I think, gives that idea that it's harsher when it comes to levels. Discomfort, it's a nag. It's a niggle. It's just something that, it's like when we were growing up, when your buddy, like, he wanted to pound you in the shoulder, pound you in the muscle, and he puts his knuckle up there and he hits you in the arm. That's
the dead arm.
That's discomfort. That's discomfort. Yeah. Pain is something that is an entirely different level, and it's negotiating, I think, all of those different levels of difficulty that is there for mentors and mentees, because difficulty will always be there, whether it's mental, physical, or emotional, but it's understanding that there can be levels assigned to them, and the idea that you can work your way through the discomfort, even if it is pain, and how you register it in your brain, I think, is key to success as well.
Most definitely. And it's so interesting because when I heard that in the movie, and I rewinded it like 3 times, and just the way that he kind of really explained it. And I mean, there's so many good moments within that documentary and that film of just, learning so much from one of the greats of baseball. He's also from Texas. So
yeah,
that's a huge plus in my book.
There you go.
But at the same time, there's so many times where Mike and I will say, what does confidence mean, or what is understanding how to cope with pressure, and understanding how you can use the value of confidence. Yeah, there are going to be bouts of confidence every time you play, or the nervousness or the pressure that you feel. And how many times did we deal with bouts of confidence, that up and down understanding of what confidence can be? And we always talk about, confidence is not, not necessarily feeling that fear, right, or that nervousness, and that comes with the territory, like we've spoken, but it is getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, and it is constantly adapting. And you ask so many kids, well, how many times during a game do you have to adapt, and you have to get comfortable with an unknown territory that you are not familiar with? And it's over and over and over again, and it starts to build that basis of consistency within their mindset, and helping them understand, okay, you know what, even if there are uncomfortable or discomfort, moments within the game that I'm feeling, and whether it be mentally or physically or emotionally or whatever it may be, I'm continuously adapting, and I'm going through these things, and getting and adapting and turning them, hopefully into a comfort zone, right? And helping them understand that as they're doing that builds their confidence, that builds their want and need to know that they are able to accomplish things. And I think that's, like we said, you said, it's a mindset, and it's a mental battle between the ears of helping, a lot of young mentees understand, like we said from the very beginning, of just embracing and cherishing those uncomfortable moments. And even from the initial point of this conversation was talking about going through these uncomfortable and discomfort moments of knowing what is next in your career, what is next for a lot of these guys that have this last game this weekend.
And at the same time, it's all about fine lines as well, because we talk about the fine line between pain and discomfort. We talk about the fine line between confidence and cockiness. There are always those fine lines that have to be navigated to not only be a good teammate, but be a good person outside of the athletic endeavor. And I think that part of your mentoring and conversations with mentees is navigating that fine line as well, because if you go too far across that line, say the line of confidence and cockiness, then it turns into a negative, and it impacts others around you that much more. And it's making sure that that fine line is right there, and that it's a part of your DNA, but you don't stray too far one way or the other.
That is a perfect question and opportunity for the next conversation next week with Michael about the mental curve, and you can ask him about it.
Okay.
He speaks about the mental curve, and that's what he calls it. And it's just understanding what you are saying right now, of understanding the highs and lows within everything that you do, whether it be on the field and off the field, and how to keep a balance in between all of them. And I'll let him give you the best explanation, because he says it a lot better than I do. I always tell people I'm the great motivator, and I'm the guy that's always going to call you bro and dude and man. And he's the monotone dad that just gives you this great piece of wisdom and advice in a very monotone way, and just it works perfectly. So I'll let him answer that question for you.
Okay, so then let's get into being the motivator, because I know that with you and Cap having two different ways to go about things, I think that that's part of the really cool yin and yang about the two of you and Beyond Goals. It's getting the message, but you're getting it a bunch of different ways. Is it the Texas in you that created the motivator, or was it something that came about over time? How did you become you as a mentor after your time as an athlete, as a professional athlete?
I think it comes from probably just the way that I was brought up, and the mindset that I had of, just that winning. I talk about that winning mentality, right? When I was in kindergarten, I was the youngest one in class, and I always wanted to be the line leader, right? I was a year younger than everybody. I always wanted to be the line leader, not necessarily because I communicated it, but because I just wanted to be the first wolf of the pack, and I wanted to lead. And we talk about that with Parky all the time. It's just understanding, leading by action and leading by example is something that I always wanted to do within, from my upbringing. And I think my parents are to thank for that. But I think over time of then being, immersed into different cultures, and then learning how to lead in those different cultures as well, has just really allowed me to gain all that experience and wisdom and knowledge to then use in my professional career, to just, we talk about one of the main contributing factors, and Mike always uses it all the time, and I'll piggyback off what he always says, is just that, Greg's biggest role within the team, and when we won the championship, and my role was not how well I played. And it was more so of just gluing all the pieces together. And it was being that middleman of English, Spanish, the middleman of coaches, players, the middleman of everything went through me. Whether it was Tata trying to explain everything to the starters, whether it was Tata trying to explain everything to the subs, whether it was the players trying to really gel with each other and trying to explain, this is what we need to do, this is where we need to be. And I was always that go-to guy, that middleman, kind of gelled and glued everything together. And I think that was my biggest contributing factor of wanting to lead in that way. And I think that now transfers over to the mentor within me, and still wanting to create that camaraderie and be somewhat of the goofy guy and making jokes, and just creating that camaraderie within all different languages, but also within the locker room. And now all of these mentees that we have, it's they are a part of our locker room. It is our sacred our sacred spot. That's, we always you talk about players and different teams that you play for, and the locker room is sacred, right? Not even coaches are allowed in the locker room, in my opinion. And that your training facility locker room, or your home locker room in the stadium, the coach only comes in and speaks whenever, right before the game. Because if not, that moment right there is for all the players to build that camaraderie, to be a family, right? We always say, as we get older, coaches come and go, but players really stick together for much longer period of time within professional sports. So that bunker of having a great locker room is super important. And I kind of now use that experience and knowledge, and now transferred it over into the mentorship as well.
Have you ever surprised yourself about your mentoring and the impact that you've had on others?
Of course. Yeah. I think, Mike and I always talk about it, and he'll be down next week. We get to share everything with Boys and Girls Club the whole entire week. So we're super excited about that. We get to work closely with them. And we get to do some other things, some really cool things with the Atlanta United Youth Academy as well, and meet with all of their age groups and all the parents and players as well. So we're super excited about that. But at the same time, going off that is we're constantly learning, right? You even as a player, you want to consistently learn and constantly learn each day and every day that you finish that day. That was something that I did as a player. I wrote down little reminders in my little journal or little reminders after we had a training and said, holy crap, okay, this was a great training session. I need to remember this because this is going to make me successful when I have this opportunity to do it on the field and within a game. And I think both of us, Mike and I, are continuously doing that now that we don't play anymore. If we see something that we really think about, oh, this is a great idea to kind of implement and throw in within our mentorship because it's so much needed, we do so. And I think that's the beauty of when you want to start something new, and especially for us of being I guess you could say a very new entrepreneur. I think we're pretty much, as players, you're an entrepreneur your whole life, right? Because you're kind of working for yourself and you're trying to make things happen for yourself. But I think it's that constant learning curve that we go through in everything that we do. And Mike and I are constantly learning every single day, new ins and outs, the rights and wrongs, the do's and don'ts of even the mentorship as well.
All right, 2-minute warning. I know that you've got an important meeting with Michael, and I know that you've got a jet in a couple of minutes. So Twitch Pitch has a question for you before you go.
Yeah.
From Byrne, since the women's national team will play in front of 87,000 tonight, what is the largest crowd you've ever played in front of? Which game, which stadium, what was it?
Yeah, I read that, and I've beaten that.
So what?
No, I think that's. I mean, honestly, I can't wait until we have a women's team here in Atlanta. I think we are in need of one. You see all these other cities that have success in doing so, and we are in need of one. And I think you'd probably fill up the Mercedes-Benz if they got to play there. Honestly, that's my honest opinion. I had a few games, one against Club America with Atlas, close to 100,000 people in there. We won 3-0, and then I had a Dos a Cero match in Alamo Dome, and I think they fit. We ended up fitting I want to say it was 105,000 people in the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, and they had it closed, and they ended up having so many standing people. I mean, that was a game to where I remember playing in it, and one of the only games in my career, and maybe the end of the championship here in the Mercedes-Benz, but I think it just being so open, it allows you to hear a little bit more than everything that's close to you. But I remember that game. It was one of the few games, probably one of the couple games in my career to where I legit could not hear the person that was talking next to me. If anybody was giving me any information, if the center back was telling me to move left, move right, I just remember walking off at halftime and my ears were just absolutely ringing. And that's probably one of the only moments that I felt in that moment of realizing, wow, this is a lot of people.
Yeah. And really looking forward to it. I know we got folks who are diving in, sitting there rack about playing at the Benz. My guess is that's where they would play.
They better.
Yeah, and then USL Women's Super League coming up as well, considering that there's a champ in the W League down in Statesboro. Get out of here. I know you've got a meeting. We'll catch up with you soon, my friend.
Sounds good. It was awesome today. Appreciate it, man. Take care.
All right, Greg Garza hanging out with us from Beyond Goals. And it's always good to catch up with Greg and Michael on a weekly basis. And you saw that, you heard that Greg is going to be coming down, that Greg will be here and that Michael will be coming down for some stuff with, I think, United, the boys and girls clubs. Very, very cool. At BG Mentoring on the Twitters. So very, very cool stuff with them. As always, great to catch up with Greg and with Michael. So now that we have hit a relative stopping point, I adjust the music that will be blaring through the speakers coming up in short order because it is time to read the promo. And it's from our friends at Eliminize Service. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. And odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. It's our friends at Eliminize Service, deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. Eliminize Service has created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet cigarettes and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize Service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. Turnkey process makes it easy to work with said realtors and property managers, kind of the environment. We like that these days, offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or our other favorite masking agents that we have either above us in the cupboard or below us underneath the sink, because when you open that door, either under the sink or above us in the cupboard, and you spray the masking agent in the air, that's why they call it a masking agent, because you're just masking the odor. You're not attacking the problem all the way down to the molecule like our friends at Eliminize do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy, either by the cubic foot or parts per million, to come up with a price that's affordable for you. Offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one place you need to go. It's the website, eliminize.com. Do us a favor here at SDH, and this is when I grab my pen. After the .com, go /Atlanta, so they know what part of the world that you are reaching out to them from, so that they can help you with your issues at home. So your full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, eliminize.com /Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH. And yeah, Bernd, I think that game was at the Estadio Azteca, where he had 105,000 screaming at them when his team won and the team he was playing lost. So 105,000. But yeah, Justin, right there with you. Really interested in the Women's Super League, and the W League was a great kickoff for that in the USL last year, with South Georgia Tormenta getting the championship. The crowd that they had in the Twin Cities as they went up against Minnesota Aurora and Sarah Fuller in net. I think they were the only undefeated team, if memory serves, in the W League at the time. But yeah, great stuff that we've seen from the USL, and looking forward to seeing that continue to grow and evolve. And yeah, RAC, I think that they will play at Mercedes-Benz, and I think it'll be great to see when, because remember, Arthur Blank was the one who volunteered the information to Mike and Jason that he wanted to have a women's professional team here. So obviously there's a lot of stuff that has to be navigated currently inside the NWSL. Ryan Wilkinson yesterday came out and said that the head coach of Portland Thorns, that if players want to come out and say anything, that they are more than welcome. And but she will not be volunteering anything. She came up with, I think it was a 3-paragraph statement that she released on social media. She will not be releasing anything if asked, but the players, if they are asked, they have the opportunity to answer if they should see fit. Megan Rapinoe, you remember her press conference yesterday where she basically said, using colorful metaphors, but she's never been one to hold back. She had her thoughts about Paul Riley, and thought that Merritt Paulson and Arnim Whistler had no business owning the franchises that they currently do in the NWSL. So we'll keep an eye on that. And obviously we will continue to be staring at all of the developments involving the fallout after the Yates report. We've spent a lot of time on it this week because we've needed to. It was great to catch up with Bart Keeler to get his thoughts yesterday, and I know that there were times where Bart was kind of holding his tongue and mincing his words and trying to figure out how to say things a certain way. And obviously the coverage that we gave it earlier this week on, I want to say it was on Tuesday, it's warranted. And as things continue to evolve with the story, we'll continue to keep talking about the Yates report and with what's going on in the NWSL, because it is that damn important. And I'm going to go ahead and say it that way. Justin, you'd love to see a women's team here in a soccer-specific stadium. I think if that were to happen, it might be a renovated Herndon. And Herndon, for those that don't know, is the stadium that is on the inside you go down the street a little bit from Mercedes-Benz, and it's there right attached to the Morris Brown and Clark Atlanta campus. And it's the stadium where the Atlanta Beat version 1.0 played, and it was where Morris Brown football played for the longest time. And I think field hockey was there for the 96 Olympics, but it has since grown into disrepair. And I would love for it to be renovated and turned into a soccer-specific facility. But I honestly think that they'll be playing inside the lower bowl of Mercedes-Benz, because if what you're seeing at Angel City is part and parcel to the growth of the NWSL, you can't pin yourself in And if there's a day when Angel City comes to town or San Diego comes to town or somebody with a megastar comes to town and you want to put 70,000 on the board, you want to open up the upper deck and then go for it. And I think that the place to do that is Mercedes-Benz. Bern, Barcelona Femení will play 2 group stage games and all their knockout games at the Camp Nou. Arsenal will play all their group stage games at the Emirates. Big stadium games for women's soccer continue in Europe, and I love to see it. Love to see that kind of stuff. And when you have games sell out when they do for the La Liga Femení sides, I'd love to see that kind of stuff. And yeah, I'm anticipating the day when you have a women's soccer team here in Atlanta that's attached to Atlanta United, and maybe they're the Athena. I'd love to see it. But yeah, Mercedes-Benz for me, because you can have 70,000 right there. That's a part of it. All right, let's get into the news of the day. And frankly, it's we'll start with what happened last night in Argentina. And on the cover of Diario Olé this morning, and once again, I've been kind of keeping an eye on Nico Cantor because of his love of the Argentine game. Diario Olé, the headline, Assassins. Gimnasia Boca was postponed at 9 minutes. There was suppression by police as the crowd got too big at the stadium, gas, rubber bullets, injuries, and a dead supporter. Tragedy in La Plata. And what I will do is I'll show you that real quick. There. That's the front page of Diario Olé for those of you who are watching on Twitch. That's what it looked like last night. The game was on Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. It was on Teise. And it was disturbing. It was incredibly disturbing to see all of those pictures last night while the game was going on, and fans who were in the end zone who were with the tear gas. They were having to fight the tear gas, and they were still in that end zone and could not find a way out. You had folks climbing over gates and things like that, trying to get away on. Get a way out of the end zone pin and try to find a way to make sure that everything, that they could actually be safe, frankly. And so it was very, very disturbing last night. So we'll see what kind of fallout, if any, happens with the police. But there's video on Teise, and I will try to effort a link and post it in the Discord. About Teise's coverage last night, and having one of their videographers show that they were shot at last night. And the guy lifted his shirt, and you see the impact of the rubber bullets and things like that. So it was scary stuff last night out of the Liga Profesional de Football when it came to Gimnasia and Boca. Let's get into soccer on TV for today and for the weekend quickly. In the ACC, it's 8 o'clock on Big ACC Network. Ligue 1 on BN at 3 with Lyon and Toulouse. Remember, 2:30 on Big Fox is when their coverage starts with the International Women's Friendly with England and the U.S. ACC Extra, 7 matches at 7 o'clock. B1G Plus, 3 matches, men 2 at 7, 1 at 8. ESPN Plus all over the place. Belgium at 2:40, Bundesliga 2:20, Bundesliga Bay at 12:30. Championship QPR and Reading at 3. La Liga Santander, Osasuna Valencia at 3. College soccer on the men's and women's side. College soccer on the men's side starts at 7. The women's start at 4. Paramount Plus has the Scottish Championship. Inverness, Caledonian Thistle, and Partick Thistle. So it's a battle of thistles, Thistle Rumble at 2:45. Tomorrow, it's all over the place, and let me see if I can do it in 15 seconds. No, I really can't. Trust me, there's a lot going on. You're on your favorite providers. It is all over the place. BN Liga, Turkish Super League, Serie A, 9 a.m. CBS Sports Network. FS2 has Canadian Premier League. This is tomorrow. Premier League at 12:30 on NBC, Big NBC. Brighton in Spurs. USA Network at 10. Newcastle and Brentford. BSBN Sports in Espanol has the simulcasts from BN Sports. ESPN Deportes, La Liga triple header, 8, 10, 15, and 12:30. Honduran Liga Nacional at 9 on Fox Deportes, Olympia and Marathon. Goal TV has Portugal and Ecuador. Telemundo has the Premier League at 10 with Chelsea and Wolves. Tuda NA has Sábado Gigante at 8 and 10:15. Universo simulcasting the Premier League. Univision, 8 o'clock, Tigres and Necaxa. ACC Extra College Men, B1G College Women at 2:05. ESPN3 has men and women's action Saturday starting at 1 o'clock. ESPN Plus, Bundesliga, 9:20, quadruple header, 12:20, an option there. Bundesliga B at 2:25, Eredivisie at 10:25, 3 matches, match in the championship, Stoke and Sheffield United. Australia, South Africa at 7:25 in the morning on a women's friendly. La Liga Santander all morning and all afternoon, 7:50, 10:05, 12:20, 2:50. You've got La Liga Smart Bank, Las Palmas and Ibiza at 12:20. All the matches in the USL Championship and all the matches in USL League One. College action on ESPN Plus starts at 1 o'clock, goes to 10 o'clock. College women, noon goes to 10. Flow has your Big East starting at noon, going all the way through 7:30. Your MLS Next Pro final, Crew 2 and City 2 out of St. Louis City. And we talked about the Crest yesterday as well. 5:30, Crew 2 and St. Louis City 2. You can catch the interview that we had with Josh Yarrow on the network that we caught up with him earlier this week. Paramount Plus on Saturday, Argentine Primera, noon, 3, 5:15, 7:30. Brasileiro, 6 and 8. Serie A on Paramount Plus, 9, noon, 12, and 2:45. Scottish Premiership, St. Johnstone and Celtic at 7:30. Peacock has your other matches on Saturday in the Premier League all weekend long. And Sunday, ACC Women at noon, Louisville and BC. Liga on BN and BN in Espanol on the simulcast. 7, 9, 11, and 2:45. There will be no Lionel Messi for PSG. Christophe Galtier is resting him this weekend. B1G at noon and 2. CNBC has your Premier League on Sunday with West Ham and Fulham. ESPN2 has women's action, Rutgers and Indiana, plus Major League Soccer, Salt Lake and Portland. ESPNU, college women at noon and 2. FS1 has Orlando Columbus at 2:30. Longhorn, Texas, and Kansas at 2. SEC, Missouri, Florida at 2. Georgia, Tennessee at 4. USA Network has 3 matches from the Premier League on your Sunday. Crystal Palace leads Arsenal, Liverpool, Everton, and Manchester United. Fox Deportes has your simulcast of Orlando and Columbus. Gold TV has the Ecuadorian Primera and the Peruvian Primera. Telemundo has your simulcast. Tuda NA has your Toluca match that they always have Sunday at 1. And Puebla, Guadalajara, 5:30. Univision has the simulcast Toluca and Juarez as well. ACC Extra, B1G, ESPN3, ESPN Plus to your other international leagues. Swedish League at 9 a.m., Belgian League at 7:30, 12:30. Bundesliga, 9:20, 11:20, 1:20. Eredivisie, 2 at 8:25, 10:40. Match in the championship at 7 o'clock, Huddersfield Town, Hull City. La Liga Santander, 3 matches, 7:50, 12:20, 2:50. MLS Decision Day, all the matches that aren't national. All of them, 2:30, which really is 2:55, 5 o'clock, which is really 5:18. College men and women. College men starting at 1, college women starting at noon, going all the way through the day in the 4 matches of the USL Championship. Flow FC has your Big East and Big East women and other matches thrown in starting at 1 o'clock. Paramount Plus, Argentine Primera, they've got 5 matches on Sunday. The Brasileiro, they have 7 matches. Serie A, they have 6 matches. SEC Plus has college women's action there. Whew, that's your look at the weekend. As we said, very, very busy. So today's matches that are going on right now. Right now you're looking at Middle East, North Africa, Western Europe, and Asia, and carry you through for the matches that we've been discussing. You go into Middle East, North Africa, carries you through into the noon hour. You've got women's friendlies. We talked about the juice boxes for the U.S. match at 3 o'clock. 1 o'clock, you've still got lower divisions going on in Europe and in North Africa. Almirante Brown, our friends in the Primera Nacional in Argentina, they play at 2. They're a large underdog heading to Brown Adrogué. Netherlands, once again, all the way through. 2:30 friendly on the women's side, Germany and France. Germany's a plus 114. Now it's a plus 116 as we're talking about it. Your draw is a plus 214. France is a plus 227. Scottish Championship, we talked about that match. Liga de Ascenso in Costa Rica. England, U.S. really hasn't changed a whole lot. The U.S. is still a plus 190 on the road in England. Going into South America late in the afternoon, Liga de Expansión in Mexico. Liga Pro in Ecuador. Lower divisions carry you into the evening. Real España and Real Sociedad in the Liga Nacional in Honduras. Real España is a big favorite after playing in CONCACAF League in the midweek. Also carries you through. So that's your rundown of all the juice boxes for the day. Let's get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo, courtesy of our friends at the BBC. Bielefeld, 12:30 today on ESPN+. Thank you, Bern. Like I said, I'm blowing through all the news here with everything that's going on. Friday gossip. Galatasaray want to sign Cristiano Ronaldo. That's from our friends at Photomak in Turkey. Bayern Munich chief exec Oliver Kahn says the Bundesliga giants considered a move for Ronaldo in the summer. That's from Bild. Wolves expected to hold talks with Julian Lopetegui, considering his sacking as Sevilla head coach after their 4-1 loss in the midweek. N'Golo Kante believes Chelsea do not want to offer him a contract extension, with his current deal due to expire next summer. That's courtesy of our friends at Foot Mercato. Arsenal interested in Porto in Iran 30-year-old forward Mehdi Taremi. That's from Abola. Via Team Talk, Real Madrid keeping tabs on Benfica's 18-year-old Portuguese defender Antonio Silva. Inter Milan hope to secure Hakan Çalhanoğlu's long-term future at the club after fending off interest in the 28-year-old Turkish midfielder from clubs like Everton. Bill Foley has a verbal agreement to buy Bournemouth, and apparently he's going to be at the match this weekend. He has already been to training. Norway striker Erling Haaland is earning £865,000 a week. That's according to the four-letter newspaper. Leeds interested in 22-year-old Swiss forward Noah Okafor, who plays for Red Bull Salzburg but faced competition from AC Milan. Championship table topper Sheffield United, keen on Kilmarnock Scottish center forward Bobby Wales, who is 17. Barcelona's VP has warned the club's wage bill will not reach a manageable level until the contracts of star names including Piqué, Jordi Alba, and Busquets come to an end, but they've been linked to Spanish midfielder Martin Zubimendi. It appears that the 23-year-old is close to signing a new deal with Real Sociedad. That comes from Mundo Deportivo. Former player Real Ferdinand has urged Manchester United to sign Jude Bellingham, who's also a target of Real Madrid and Liverpool. And Leicester City manager Brendan Rodgers has revealed he rejected 2 opportunities to leave the club, according to the Leicester Mercury. Steve Cooper has been given a contract extension to 2025, I believe, from Nottingham Forest. But they do have a new sporting director in place at the bottom of the table. Let's see. Other news that is on the board. Fresh deal of 2025 for Steve Cooper. Let's see. Scanning. Also, Hull's manager search has been ramped up as well. Daily Mirror, Liverpool weighing up a move for Germany as Bayern Munich midfielder Jamal Musiala. Let's see. The sale, according to the Daily Telegraph, of Bournemouth to Bill Foley is expected to be about £120 million. He was in Dorset Thursday to watch the first team train ahead of an agreement with a Russian British businessman, Maxim Demin. So, yeah, I know. Right there with you, Nix. Don't know why they extended Steve Cooper. Really don't. That was a popular move, though. So we'll see what happens with Steve Cooper getting his contract extended. Maybe it's just an attaboy for getting them promoted, and we'll see what happens and how long the patience stays with the front office and with the ownership group at Nottingham Forest. Still online to have more transfers than points in the Premier League in 2022. Let's see. Avoiding the 3-letter paper. Daily Express. A Europa League tie between Malmo and Union Berlin delayed after a huge explosion took place just a few yards away from the pitch. Trouble began to emerge from the stands as fans threw objects and pyrotechnic missiles onto the pitch, causing the ref to suspend play, take the players off the pitch last night in Sweden. Liverpool will mitigate the financial challenges faced by potentially failing to qualify for Champions League by continuing the off-the-pitch development, the club's chief exec has explained. Billy Hogan has insisted club's hierarchy have plans in place should Jurgen Klopp's side fail to finish in the Premier League's top 4. Let's see. Restaurant owners in Manchester have criticized the preposterous claims made by a footballer's wife who said the city's establishments serve only horrible and frozen food. Okay. England will go into the World Cup without a win in their past 6 matches, face what is officially the toughest group in the tournament. Independent, Trevor Chalobah believes Reece James might be just the world's best right back. And England players will join forces with the U.S. to show solidarity for victims of the abuse scandal ahead of Friday evening. Sold out international at Wembley. Pep believes the brilliance of Erling Haaland is allowing another attacking weapon in Julian Alvarez to settle quietly and effectively at Manchester City. Not wrong. Let's see. Daily Star, Cristiano Ronaldo is not reportedly not a part of the leadership group that has been forged at Manchester United. Daily Record, Rangers are set to reward rising star Adam Devine with a new deal. Matt O'Reilly insists Celtic must learn fast to get ruthless and go for the Champions League kill. And Arsenal are leading the chase for Rangers youngster Jack Wiley, according to a report. So that is all the news from around Europe and England as we get ready for things. Also on the board, I think, let's see, we talked about England and the U.S. We talked about the soccer on TV. Shellis Heinemann has been named the 83rd recipient of the Honor Award from United Soccer Coaches in recognition for meritorious service to the association and outstanding contributions to soccer. 5'11", 169, and 6 in 37 years at Eastern Illinois, SMU, and Grand Canyon. Also the head coach for FC Dallas from 2008 to 2013. Matt Turner got his first shutout for Arsenal this week. Only Americans, he and Jordan Pefok, the only Americans of national team relevance to feature in the Europa League on Thursday. Got his clean sheet with the 3-0 win over Bodo Glimt. 3 saves in a quiet evening. Jordan Pefok won 74 minutes in Union Berlin's 1-0 win away at Malmo. 4 half chances in the box. Union went down to 10 at halftime. Struggled offensively in the second half. No real surprise. Der Klassiker. Bellingham and Musiala headlining the new look rivalry. You've got Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich. Let's check the juice boxes on that one, Bernd, before we go. Nothing like having to scan all the way up a page. So looking at the juice boxes for that one, you have Dortmund, Bayern Munich, 12:30 tomorrow. Dortmund a plus 342. Your draw is a plus 375. Bayern Munich is a minus 149. And Jude Bellingham and Jamal Musiala, they did the math, combined age of only 38. Bellingham's captain Dortmund in its last 2 matches, goes up against Musiala at Signal Iduna Park. And Musiala's nailed down a place in the starting 11 this year, repaying Julian Nagelsmann's faith with team-leading tallies in the Bundesliga's 5 goals, 3 assists. So you're looking at Bellingham, Musiala. Dortmund has Karim Adeyemi, Gio Reyna. Bayern, Matthijs Tell, Ryan Gravenberch, nominated for this year's Golden Boy Award, won 2 years ago by Haaland when he was at Dortmund. On Thursday, Dortmund sporting director Sebastian Kell suggested Youssoufa Moukoko could start on Saturday ahead of the struggling Anthony Modeste. Quoting Kell, he was very agile, very energetic, very dedicated, played a really good game, Kell said on Thursday of Moukoko's performance against Sevilla. The teams go in level on points, 2 points behind early leaders Union Berlin and Freiburg. I would never have had that on my bingo card, that Union Berlin and Freiburg would be leading this early in the year when it comes to the Bundesliga. Player to watch, according to Soccer America, Geraldo Becker, the Suriname international, has been behind Union's surprise charge to the summit in the Bundesliga. 6 goals, 8 league appearances, only having 7 and 59 previous to that. Becker also got on the board in Europa League, scoring when Union got their points to beat Malmo. So they're Union still looking at Geraldo Becker to help them out at the top of the ladder in the Bundesliga, trying to see if there's anything else that has come across. You're looking at what is on stake. We've talked about the players in and out. We've talked about who could be in, who could host, all this kind of stuff. Golden Boot race is also set to be decided. Hani Mukhtar at 23, Sebastian Driussi at 21. So Mukhtar has stumbled recently, really hasn't had the ball in the back of the net. What can Driussi do on the last day of the year? So that's what you're looking at for Golden Boot, in addition to everything that we talked about in the first hour of the show, the first half hour, when it comes to everything on Decision Day. Reminder for Decision Day coverage on 92.9 The Game starts at 2 o'clock with your kick at 2:55. Yes, it says 2:30, but it's a 2:55 kick, so that way everything gets the super hyper mega pregame show and Atlanta United hosting NYC. That one's at 2:55 kick to make sure that everything goes off equally and normally. You'll also see that at the second half. Everyone will start at the same time. 5 o'clock starts in the West mean 5:18. So 92.9 the game. It will be broadcast crews are a little different for this one. And Mike has moved over to television. So Mike Conti will be on TV this go round, and his tag team partner will be Dan Gargan making an appearance for the last game of the year. So we'll look at that. And I want to get to the release because the crews are a little different. So here's your broadcast changes. It's on Bally Sports Southeast, and it's on Star 94, not 92.9 the game. So Star 94, 9 o'clock. To 2 o'clock for a 2:55 kick. Bally Sports Southeast, Star 94.1, La Mejor. Mike and Dan Gargan join Jillian Sakovitz for the final broadcast on Bally Sports. Conti's filling in for Kevin Egan. Gargan's filling in for Mo Adu because Mo's going to be busy nationally. On the radio side, Jason will take over play-by-play duties from Mike and joined in the booth by Danny Poso. Coverage begins at 2 o'clock. So you have Mike and Dan Gargan with Jillian on the TV side. You've got Jason and Danny Poso at Star 94, which starts at 2 o'clock. Danny Poso makes her broadcast debut on Sunday, supporting in a background in radio dating back to 2015, digital content creator for 92.9 The Game for 17, 18, and 19. Worked as the marketing and corporate social responsibility coordinator for the Alliance of American Football. And since 2019, she has been an executive assistant to film producer Ozzy Aru and operates her own clothing line, Poso Atletico. So Jason Longshore, Danny Poso on Star 94.1 starts at 2 o'clock. Mike, Dan Gargan, Jillian Sakovitz on Bally Sports Southeast. That starts at 2:30. The game starts at 2:30. So my guess is pregame will start at 2, and they might start it. Coverage starts at 2:30. Okay, so they're not going to go early either. So it'll be yes, and no doubt, Rich. It will be yes, Rich, no doubt. Kevin Patrick on the move to the Raw desk, and if you saw that on social media, Kevin Patrick front and center on the 5-shot on social media. Very, very cool. So happy A-League opening weekend. Melbourne City opens with a win. And, Dan Gargan returns. And Dan has been he's been the executive VP managing director of Blue Fuzz Athletic, a youth sports club based out of St. Louis. And so remember, Dan worked all the way through 2021 before he went back to St. Louis itself. So broadcast crews one more time. TV, Bally Sports South, 2:30. Mike, Dan Gargan, Jillian. Star 94.1, starting at 2 o'clock. Jason, Danny Poso. So that's what it looks like. Jason Nix, wish Apple had already set up the broadcast crews for next year already. Pretty sad to see the crews saying goodbye to everyone, not knowing if they'll have a job next year, no doubt. And, when you have guys like Dave Johnson in D.C., who's been there since day one of D.C. United, and D.C. came out with a statement saying that they will have something for Dave Johnson to do to continue to have his impact in the community. Guys like Brian Dunsteth and DJ in RSL, they had their last TV broadcast. Guys like Joe Totino, who've been with the LA Galaxy since forever. You wonder what it's going to look like in places like Portland with Jake Zivin and the crew there, with Keith Costigan and the crew that they have in Seattle. And Callum and Kendra in Minnesota, all of the Joe and Ian with the NYC, Shep and the Kanji Man with Red Bulls. There's a lot of great work. Glenn Davis, who does fantastic work in Houston. Literally, you could sit here and go each and every market. Ray and Andres in Miami, and just sit there and work your way up and work your way through and see what it looks like on the TV side. But it'll be interesting to see with the TV side how things shake out and who ends up with Apple TV Plus and what it looks like from a local perspective. So it will be really interesting to see what happens there, working its way through. And it's going to be a very busy off season too, because then once you have those decisions made on a national basis, then what happens locally? And so it definitely will be an interesting winter, because when you think about it, it will be Yeah, I'm looking for continuity too. When you look at the end of this season, then you go World Cup, then you're in the middle of December, then you're in the January transfer window, and then you're at training camp. So while there isn't going to be the Major League Soccer season isn't going as deeply into the calendar as it normally does, there's not really going to be a whole lot of rest. And it'll be really interesting to see how things are shaking out for Apple and see what their coverage is going to be like. And then how do the teams respond locally with radio and new media and things like that. And yeah, I mean, it might be, yeah, Nick's, I feel like Atlanta will have a totally new TV crew. I mean, it's going to be Apple, and Apple's going to be the ones to decide. And I think Apple's going to be looking at it kind of like the National Football League does, where they have crews, and the crews will be, all right, so my number one crew is going here, my number two crew is going here, and then you have that hierarchy that's set through. And I figured that with Kevin doing more wrestling and the responsibilities for him kicking up there, Mo Adu with Fox, and you wonder what the responsibilities are going to be with Fox since they're more event-based now, what the talent pool is going to be with Fox going forward. Yeah, we're going to have a lot of questions. But yeah, this is the last day for the other half of the TV crews that we've been keeping an eye on for the last handful of years. And so, you look at Philadelphia Union, JP Dellacamera, who has been part of the fabric of the Major League Soccer broadcast. You've got JP, you've got Adrian Healy, who's in Austin as their director of broadcast. You've got guys like Mark Followell and Steve Davis, who've done stuff in Dallas. We mentioned Glenn Davis in Houston. LAFC's got Max Bretos and the fun of the rotating color guy. And you had you had their studio component there as well. You had Minnesota United. We talked about Kellum and Kendra. RSL. We talked about Dunny and DJ. Seattle with Keith Costigan. All of those folks. I think it might be Nick's. It's probably going to end up being as many as the 14 or 15 crews, and they go to games and things like that. Mark Rogandino, who's been a part of the coverage for LAFC as well. As I sit here and go through, you've got Feldy and Charlie Davies in New England. You've got Tom Galerter with what they've done in Cincinnati. Charlotte with their crew coming out of the blocks with their first year with Eric Krakauer and Lloyd Sam, Neil Sika, Jordan Angeli in Columbus with the work that they've done, all the work that the guys at TSN have done. Colorado with Richard Fleming, Marcelo Balboa, Sporting Kansas City with Nate Bacady. He's the work that they've done there in sporting. And we mentioned LAG with what they've done with Joe Totino, who's an absolute legend in this business. Nashville with Tony Husband, Jamie Watson, Vancouver with the local TSN crew. And we talked about Portland with Jake Zivin and their crew, and San Jose with what we've seen there with NBC Sports Bay Area. But that's going to be the other part of it, Nick. Is it going to be Remy or is it going to be on site? And that's going to be the other part of it too. So we'll see how Apple invests going forward. But that's a show, and that's another week here at Soccer Down Here. I know that it's been a long week on a bunch of different fronts. And thanks to all of y'all for hanging out with us and discussing some very difficult things that need to be discussed. Then will continue to be discussed as we talk about matches. And, we love to talk about that stuff too and what it means to everybody. There was some difficult things to talk about this week, and they needed to be talked about. So as we continue to work our way through it, we're going to keep talking about it as things continue to develop. We got a big match today with the U.S. and the Lionesses at 3:00. Your programming starts at 2:30 on Big Fox. But end of the regular season in Major League Soccer, it's decision day. Have fun, have everything charged up. If you're going to the Mercedes-Benz, I hope you do. If you've got a ticket, I hope you go to show the guys the support for the last game of the season. And we'll keep, like I said, we'll keep talking about it. My guess is, Bernd, it's probably just going to be one, but we'll see. It'll be the one broadcast covering both teams. I don't think you'll have 30 crews. I think you'll have 15 when it comes to Major League Soccer. But thanks for going through an interesting week and then a difficult week and then an interesting week all over again. All of our guests that have been here this week and you guys, because we couldn't do it without you. And we will be back on Monday to react to what we saw on decision day, to react to what happened over the weekend. And we will keep plugging forward with everything here at Soccer Down Here. So mucha plata, y'all. Have a safe weekend. If I see you at Mercedes-Benz, I hope I see you at Mercedes-Benz. I will see you from the Halo board if I don't. And we'll do it one more time. So we'll be back on Monday. And since it is the end of the show and yet another week here at SDH, that means I get to do this. See you Monday.